Welcome all to yet another video, Dr. RS and you, on the science of cosmetics and personal care products. You can type Ramesh Surianarayanan in the YouTube videos. You will get it as Dr. Ramesh Surianarayanan. You will get all my previous 119 videos, parts, and this is my email ID. So in part 119, I have explained how to access all my YouTube videos. You can go through that, right? Previous 119 YouTube videos, how to access, okay? And this is the link you can get. So today we are in part 120. We will briefly discuss about cosmetics stability testing, right? So stability testing or product safety testing encompasses many different aspects of product formulation. There needs to be a proof that during the shelf life declared, the product shelf life might be 18 months, 24 months, some 12 months, some even 36 months. So during the shelf life declared, right? The preservative system is efficient, the product is physically stable, and the product does not negatively interact with the packaging. So preferably, not preferably, it is very essential, stability test is conducted in the final packaging, right? Because the material of packaging and to a certain extent the packaging design also have an effect on the stability of the product. So that has to be taken into the study, right? Very, very important. You can't do the entire stability in a glass packaging and finally pack the product in the HDPE containers, So it has to be in the final packaging, preferably in the final design, right? So when you use the final design of the packaging, then you can evaluate the flow of the product from the packaging, whether it is the acceptable flow. Then if the product has to be rheologically modified, you can also do that. So all those things have to be ensured before the product is in the market. Otherwise, at the final stage, there will be a surprise, right? Something is not fitting properly. So European Union and International Federation of Society of Cosmetic Chemists, IFSCC, they have set some guidelines on cosmetic stability testing. You can go through that and it's in the Google. You can go through that and you can also visit that sites. Okay. Now, broadly, the cosmetic stability testing is conducted by these are the broad tests conducted: accelerated stability test, freeze thaw test, light UV exposure, direct sunlight or through UV light cabinet, mechanical test, that is vibration test or centrifugation test, especially for emulsions. So these are all very important because why the stability testing is conducted? If you are giving 36 months as the shelf life of the product, you can't wait for 36 months, see whether the product is stable and then declare. So these stability tests are done to predict the long-term stability of the product, right? So these are the very broadly, these are the test type of tests conducted to predict the stability. We will see basics of each of these stability testing. So before that, after the stability testing, you do stability. After the stability testing, what you see in the product, okay? After the stability testing, you see changes in color of the product, change in the odor of the product, Other physical changes, perhaps if it's a cream, it's an emulsion, whether it is creaming or separation of the cream. So all those aspects. Then pH. Then viscosity using viscometer or the rheological studies, flow properties, rheometer. Weight changes, meaning if there is a water loss, right? If the packaging is not tight, when you keep it at higher temperature, there might be a weight loss because of the water evaporation, right? Microbial test. See, actually, initially the product microbial efficacy has to be done by plate count and product challenge test. Challenge test is in pharmacopoeia, European pharmacopoeia, United States pharmacopoeia, where you contaminate the product with certain bacteria and fungi and see the efficacy of the preservatives, whether it reduces the bacteria, right? And how long it takes to reduce the bacteria to almost nil. So the preservatives are added not only to preserve the product from microbial contamination initially, but also when consumer accidentally contaminate the product, the preservative should take care of controlling those bacteria and fungi also. So that is why in the challenge test, you contaminate it and then see whether it is reduced. And in the pharmacopoeia, there are certain types of bacteria and fungi which are specified to conduct the challenge test. So the challenge test should be conducted initially, and the plate count should be conducted initially, and also after the stability studies, so that we will know whether the preservative efficacy is retained throughout the accelerated stability period. So analytical data in relation to other parameters for specific product types. So analytical data, if you are using an active in the product, so the stability of the active in the formulation has to be analyzed, okay? And these are the things. When you say stability data, after the stability studies, what all you should look. So the perfume, odor, whether the perfume stays or whether the product itself develops some other smell, because of the deterioration of some of the ingredients in the product. For example, if you use vegetable oils with unsaturated fatty acids, right, like sunflower oil or sesame oil, all these vegetable oils can become rancid in the product with unsaturated fatty acids. So they develop rancid odor. And if the product is not preserved properly, after stability you will see rancid odor. Or the perfume deteriorates and you get the base smell, the perfume stability. So color, whether the product changes in color, other changes, right? These are all some of the tests which is a must, which you conduct after the stability studies. Right, now accelerated stability study, it's subjecting the product to various temperature conditions. And again I stress this, the product should be in the final formula and in the final packaging, right? Again I'm stressing, don't test the stability studies in a glass bottle and finally pack the product in HDPE bottles. This has no meaning, right? So 4 degrees centigrade. So this is very important. Some of the emulsifiers loses its solubility at low temperature, right? And some emulsions are stable at 45 degrees for even 6 months, but it thins down at 4 degrees when you keep it at 4 degrees. Or a clear shampoo can become cloudy at 4 degrees. So you have to low temperature stability is also very, very important 20 to 25 degrees, this is the room temperature generally considered as 20 to 25 degrees. Then 37 degrees centigrade for 3 to 6 months. 45 degrees 1 to 3 months, extended to 6 months also. At 37 degrees, at 80% relative humidity also you can use it for 1 month maximum. You can compare these two, right? Because relative humidity, because soaps, it's kept in the bathroom at a very, see, you wash it with soap and just keep it. And shampoos, you keep it in the bathroom, right? They are all subjected to high relative humidity in the bathrooms. So, whether it is relative humidity, when the product is subjected to higher relative humidity, whether it causes any further accelerates any deterioration. So, you can compare that also. Additionally, 50 degrees for 1 month. So, you can use this as a standard sample, or even this as a standard sample when you compare the perfume. Right? When you keep it at low temperature and when 45 degrees samples, you can compare after 6 months how it smells, and 4 degrees centigrade at 6 months how it smells. Here, the deterioration will be accelerated at higher temperatures. Right? So, see the color change at 4 degrees how it is, and at 45 degrees. So, basically 45 degrees 6 months stability can be even 24 months actual stability can be given, and some you can even extend to 36 months based on the type of ingredients used, right? So 50 degrees for 1 month is also very important. See, considering the cosmetic products, right, going in a lorry covered with a tarpaulin at extreme summer, right, transported to north, or transported from north, or some places where even the temperature goes to even 48 degrees in the summer, and the warehouse, no, the temperature is not maintained. All these products are not stored under air conditioned, no, at the controlled temperature like pharmaceuticals. Cosmetic products are stored at the warehouse where the temperature can be high, or transported in lorries. No, it's not they are not transported under controlled temperature conditions. So your product has to be sturdy, right? Even at 50 degrees for 1 month, preferably it has to be stable, right? So these are all the accelerated stability temperature studies. And in the previous slide I explained you, after the stability studies, what are the things you have to evaluate, right? This is one thing very important. Then freeze thaw, where you can do 6 cycles, right? Taking the product to very low temperature and heating it to 80 degrees. So you can either take it to minus 30 to 25 degrees centigrade room temperature, or you can take it from 25 degrees to 50 degrees, cool down to 4 degrees, then again heat to 50 degrees. Do like this 6 times. So that is called freeze thaw. Freeze thaw, right? This can identify formulations that are prone to instability, crystallization, sedimentation, clouding. All those things can be addressed. That can be evaluated. If your product can withstand these freeze thaw cycles, then these you can ensure these parameters are taken care, right? So it happens, no, in some places the night temperature drops very low and the day temperatures are high. So the product is it's constantly subjected to low and high temperatures. This is very, very important. Freeze thaw. Then light UV exposure, either direct sunlight or UV light cabinet. Right? You can have a UV light which gives light of that UV spectrum, and you can keep the products in that chamber and see. See, in this UV, some of the colors, right? It gets faded in the UV light, right? Your packaging should be UV protected if it is a transparent packaging. So in the master batch of the polymers itself, they mix with UV stabilizers, and then they make the packaging, right? So some colors are very, very susceptible to UV light, and you will see that if your product is stored in the retail somewhere exposed to sunlight, or if the consumer store it in a place where they get sunlight in the afternoon, over a period of time the product will lose the color. So you have to do the UV exposure test, right? You can keep your product in the terrace, in the sunlight for a week, 2 weeks, and see. One is the product, and two, it's also the packaging labels, right? Some of the labels can fade because if the labels are not UV cured, right? It is not UV stabilized. It can fade when exposed to sunlight. So the color and petroleum jelly, right? Something like some ingredients like petroleum jelly have polyunsaturated polyunsaturated compounds, aromatic compounds. Polyunsaturated aromatic compounds as impurities, right? It should not be there, but if that is there above a certain level, what happens, if you keep the petroleum jelly in a UV chamber, it changes color and gives a very, very different note, very pungent note. You can see that. Even keeping it for 8 hours and see, a contaminated petroleum jelly will turn brown and also give a very pungent note, right? So this UV exposure is very, very important, right? Both the color, the odor, and stability, not only on the product but also on your packaging labels and right, the color fastness of the labels, right? So light and UV exposure is very, very important. Mechanical test, vibration test, and centrifugation test is also conducted. See, for example, in the emulsion stability, we saw about the Stokes law, right? The acceleration due to gravity, the dispersed phase can settle, right? When you subject your product to centrifugation, especially emulsions, dispersed systems, emulsions and suspensions, if you centrifuge it, right, you can set the parameter, right, like 1000 RPM for 10 minutes, right? So you have to study this thing. There are no standard set rules for this, but you can set your principles where you have to put your product and then subject to centrifugation. So you have a product which it's unstable and you are trying to stabilize it further. So you can use that product as a control and put this new product, new formulation, and then do the centrifuge test. Or you can take the benchmark product and use the centrifuge test and see whether the product, how it. So when the product is stabilized very well, you will not see the creaming of the product. Otherwise, you will see a dense layer at the bottom and a less dense layer at the top. The product has creamed already because of the centrifugation. So this is one study which is conducted to predict the stability of products, especially emulsions. Right. Now, packaging. Packaging can directly affect finished product stability because of interactions which can occur between the product, the package and the external environment. Such interactions may include interaction between the product and the container. Right. Some of the emollients like isopropyl myristrate can interact with polypropylene caps. Right. Polypropylene caps in a glass bottle can get cracked if the product constantly get in contact with these polypropylene caps. Right. There were instances. Or the product can corrode some of the packaging. So for example, the aluminum tubes which you are using, so it has to be lacquered, otherwise the product can corrode the packaging. That is one thing. And then the barrier properties of the container. See, for example, you have to see whether the barrier properties it's enough for protecting your product, otherwise there can be a perfume loss. Right. So on one hand, how the packaging protects the product, you have to see. On the other, how the product can affect the packaging, reverse also. So all these aspects have to be studied. That is why it is better to have the formulation tested in the packaging in which it will be marketed. Right. That is the thing. No, it has to be done like this. So that is the packaging. So this is what I want to share with you on this stability testing, where it is very, very important. I just have covered the principles of stability testing, which is very, very important. The accelerated temperature testing is widely adopted. Now, it takes some time for the product to be developed, maybe 8 months. If it is a very, very new product, it can take even a year. And after that, 6 months stability. All these things, no, still the industry want to cut short the stability testing protocols to launch the product fast, but sometimes it's very, very risky. So ensure the product is stable in the packaging. So what are all the parameters I have told that you have to evaluate broadly. So again I am insisting, what are all the parameters? No, changes in color, changes in odor, other physical changes, creaming, separation, changes in the pH of the product, changes in viscosity, either the viscosity, viscometer or rheometer, complete flow properties, right? Thixotropic changes and all those aspects, right? Then weight changes because of the evaporation loss, microbial test. So when you formulate, microbial test is very important to see whether your product is preserved well. And after the stability test also, you have to do all the microbial, the preservative efficacy test to ensure that the preservative is stable throughout the stability testing period, right? That can assure you that the product shelf life and the preservative stability. And of course, the analytical data in relation to the other parameters. Example, if you are using any actives in the product, whether after the stability you have to analyze the actives content, whether. So in in some of the products sold in Europe, they also put the product is best for 6 months after opening, right? That is the one that they are giving a new direction. So if the product shelf life is for 3 years, and if the consumer gets the product, buys the product after 2 months, right, and still the shelf life is there, no, for another 34 months, right, but the consumer can't keep the container partly closed, opened, and say that the product is still, the expiry is for another 34 months, but within another 6 months it became, it dried and all those things. That's why they say product is for 36 months, but when you buy it, it's best only for 6 months after opening the product. That's what some of the manufacturers give, especially in Europe, right? So now people are going for airless packaging, where there is a very little chance of the consumer contaminating the product while using. Though these airless packagings are a little expensive, but for a premium product, or product which are very susceptible, it has actives which are susceptible to the environmental conditions, the airless pump can be a good alternate packaging. Thank you for listening to me in this video. Till we get connected in the next video, bye to you all. Be smiling, be happy. Bye.